Hello and welcome back to the third episode of Rite of 433, in which we will discuss the life and works of the members of the Second Viennese School. This group is also very much connected with the famous year 1913, which we deemed the year of contemporary concert music. On 31st of March, just a day before the premiere of De Falla's La Vida Breve, there was an infamous concert performance in Vienna. Works of Schoenberg, Webern, and Berg were performed on that day in a concert organized by the Vienna Concert Society in the Great Hall of the Musikverein in Vienna. This concert later became famous as the Skandalkonzert, and it really put these three composers firmly on the map of the early contemporary music landscape. Arnold Schoenberg is perhaps one of the most attacked composers of the 20th century. He abruptly cut all ties with traditional tonality with his atonal expressionistic pieces as well as his innovative 12-tone compositional technique. But it is well to remember that Schoenberg did not compose in these styles from the very beginning of his career. Having listened to several dozens of Wagner's opera productions, as well as meticulously studying various musical scores, Schoenberg's early period belonged more to the late Romantic style at the end of the 19th and early 20th century. Verklärte Nacht for string sextet and Kammersymphonie Opus 9 from 1906 are the most notable examples of this period. Then he moved on to the expressionistic style with his Erwartung, a very intense monodrama for soprano and orchestra, and 5 pieces for orchestra opus 16. His most famous work of this period is Pierrot Lenné, opus 21 from 1912, which will be our first musical example of this episode. Pierrot Lenné is a song cycle for voice and chamber ensemble based on the work of Albert Giron. In this piece, Schoenberg wanted to show how free atonality does not need to express only the darkest emotional states, but that it also has significantly more potential. Pierrot is also very light, ironic, and quite satirical in nature, and is perhaps Schoenberg's most well-received work. This cycle is divided into 3 sections of 7 songs. The vocal line is written for a soprano, but the usual traditional style of singing is replaced with Sprachgesang, an extended performance technique of spoken singing, meaning literally spoken singing. The singer is instructed to perform the score on its approximate pitch and rhythmic values. The chamber ensemble consists of 5 performers who play 8 different instruments: piano, flute, piccolo, clarinet, and bass clarinet, as well as violin, viola, and cello. For each song, Schoenberg utilized a different combination of instruments, thus enhancing the emotional states of each movement. I chose 2 contrasting movements from the third part of the cycle. In Der Mondfleck, we find Pierrot alone in a night scene. He finds a mysterious white spot on his black jacket. He's rubbing it, but the stain is not coming out. Of course, it's a piece of moonlight. In the final movement, O Alter Duft, the composer evokes the old scent from the time of fairy tales, which gives the work a mysterious and perhaps an unexpected finale. So please enjoy the 2 songs from the third part of Schoenberg's Pierrot Lenné.
Einen weißen Fleck des hellen Mondes, auf dem Rücken seines schwarzen Rockes. So spaziert Pierrot im lauen Abend auf so geglückte Abenteuer. Plötzlich stört ihn auf und seinen Anzug. Er besieht sich rings und findet richtig einen weißen Fleck des hellen Mondes auf dem Rücken seines schwarzen Rockes. Gott, denkt er, das ist ein Gänseblick. Wischt, wischt, du, bringt ihn nicht herunter. Und sie geht geschwollen weiter. Reit und Reit bis vor den Verlogen. Einen weißen Fleck des hellen Mondes. Duft aus Märchenzeit, berauschest wieder meine Seele. Ein mildes Heer von Schelmereien durchschwirrt die leichte Luft. Ein glückhaft Wünschen macht mich froh nach Freuden, die ich lang verachtet. Alter Duft aus Märchenzeit, berauschest wieder all meinen Unmut geb ich preis. Aus meinen sonnenumrahmten Fenstern beschau ich frei die liebe Welt und träum hinaus in seliger Weite.
Arnold Schoenberg is perhaps best known as the inventor of the 12-tone technique. It is a very specific compositional style, which main goal is to give freedom and autonomy to each note of the chromatic scale. Each note is not to be repeated before every other has made its appearance in the tone row. The chromatic scale consists of 12 different notes, with the 13th making the perfect octave and thus beginning a new cycle. It is perhaps interesting to note here that Schoenberg suffered from a very curious phobia. It was a mortal fear of the number 13, also known as triskaidekaphobia, in his case literally. He was born on a Friday the 13th in September of 1874 and also died on a Friday the 13th in July 1951 at the age of 76, which yes adds up to the number 13. It is a very good example of just how far a composer's personality can become a truly profound, integral part of his compositional style. There is much here to indicate that in the octave, Schoenberg saw his much feared 13 and felt a strong need to formulate a system which would deny any hierarchy while writing his pieces. 5 piano pieces from 1923 contain the first composition written with a 12-tone technique, the fifth movement, Walzer, which is our following musical example. Arnold Schoenberg was also one of the greatest music teachers of the 20th century. After leaving Vienna in 1933, after the Nazis came to power and his return to Jewish faith, he settled in America where he taught at UCLA and helped cultivate an entire generation of young composers, including John Cage. But one of his best known students was Vienna's Anton Webern, who developed a truly unique personal style while utilizing his teacher's dodecaphonic technique. His special style is marked by the stark, ascetic writing, brevity, and the dense concentration of the musical material. Most of his works can be seen as sort of musical aphorisms, since most of them are just a few minutes long. It is a great example of an extremely disciplined approach to writing music. Some similar approaches we will encounter in some of the following episodes. Weber never really gained his well-deserved recognition during his own lifetime. After Schoenberg left for the United States in 1933, he felt quite lonely, and after the German annex of Austria in 1938, he was deemed as a degenerate artist, and his works were officially banned. He spent most of his time living and working in isolation. He met a truly tragic end in 1945 when, after stepping outside his home to enjoy a cigar before the police curfew, he was shot and killed by an American soldier. One of his most famous compositions is the Symphony Opus 21 from 1928, which was dedicated to his daughter Christina. It is written for a reduced orchestra made up of clarinet and bass clarinet, two horns, harp, and strings without the double bass, and it is the first orchestral work completely composed using the dodecaphonic technique. The first movement is written in a sonata form, while the second movement is a theme with variations. Each section is written in only 11 bars, and it brilliantly showcases Webern's ascetic but very powerful writing. Please enjoy the second movement of Webern's Symphony Opus 21. The third member of the great Second Viennese School was Alban Berg. He utilized the 12-tone technique much more freely than his two colleagues, as well as using more traditional tonal expression, perhaps one of the reasons why his music has more mass appeal than that of Schoenberg and Webern. He became world famous with his expressionistic opera Wozzeck, one of the greatest stage works of the 20th century. It is based on the libretto by Georg Büchner, who, very interestingly, just like Lily Boulanger, also died at a very early age of 24. Even though he wrote his drama Wojciech in the Romantic period, this work has a remarkably modern character. The drama is set in an unknown small German town around the year 1830. The main character, Wojciech, is a simple soldier who is a victim of his circumstances. His lover, Marie, is cheating on him with a drum major who is bragging about it around town. The cruel captain mocks Wojciech, and the sadistic doctor performs all sorts of medical experiments on him, basically using him as a guinea pig. This opera is extremely demanding for the performers, not only because of its length, but also many extended performance techniques, including the Sprachgesang, which we first met at the beginning of this episode. So, for the end, please enjoy the final two scenes from Act 3 of the opera. Wozzeck, completely jealous and deranged, kills his lover Marie in the forest by the lake. He drowns while looking for the knife, and his body is found by the cold-blooded captain and the doctor. In the final scene, Wozzeck and Marie's child happily rides a wooden horse, unaware of the death of his parents. The next episode will be dedicated to the great concert pieces of the 20th century, in which the artist truly takes the stage. Thank you once again for listening, and see you in the next episode.
Das Messer. Wo ist das Messer? Ich hab's da gelassen. Näher, noch näher. Mir graut's. Da regt sich was. Still. Alles still und tot. Mörder, Mörder! Ha! Ruft's! Nein, ich selbst. Marie! Marie! Was hast du für eine rote Schnur um den Hals? Was ihrer schöne Halsband verdient, wie die Ohrringlein mit deiner Söhn. Was hängen dir die schwarzen Haare so wild? Mörder, Mörder! Sie werden nach mir suchen, das Messer verrennt mich. Da ist's! So, da hinunter. Es taucht ins dunkle Wasser wie ein Stein. Aber der Mond verrät mich. Der Mond ist blutig. Will denn die ganze Welt es ausplaudern? Das Messer, es liegt so weit vorn. Sie finden's beim Baden oder wenn sie nach Muscheln tauchen. Ich find's nicht. Aber ich muss mich waschen. Ich bin blutig. Ein Fleck und noch einer. Ich wasche mich mit Blut. Das Wasser ist Blut. Blut.
Halt!
Hören Sie, dort.
Jesus, das war ein Ton.
Ja, dort.
Es ist das Wasser im Teich. Das Wasser ruft. Es ist schon lange niemand ertrunken. Kommen Sie, Doktor. Es ist nicht gut zu hören.
Das stöhnt, als stürbe ein Mensch. Da ertrinkt jemand.
Unheimlich. Der Mond rot und die Nebel grau. Hören Sie. Jetzt wieder das Ächzen.
Stiller. Jetzt ganz still.
Kommen Sie schnell.
schauen.